Hey everybody, it's Sean and welcome to Southern Audacity. In this video, I'm going to show you how I've created these shirts. It's kind of a trial and error type of video because truly I've only done this applique a couple of times and I'm still trying to get the process down as far as using silhouette to cut my fabric for my applique. So if you all saw the last video with the thankful t-shirt, you know that trimming around the applique was driving me up a wall. So I did find a awesome video from Lisa Shaw, and she shows how to use silhouette or what she shows is how to create the cut file so that you can send it to Silhouette or whatever your cutting machine is, because there are actually a couple of different options for the cutting machines. So I'm going to show you how I did this and stay tuned. Okay guys, so this is going to be a video just showing how I created the silhouette cut file from the actual embroidery applique file. Okay, I am using Embrilliance Essentials, and I flip back and forth between the Essentials and Stitch Artist. I do use Stitch Artist 3, but I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on that A so that it opens up my alphabet pane. Excuse me. And then over here, I'm going to type in the word that I want, and it's just going to be all capital letters, M-A-M for mama. And I'm going to hit enter, and it changes it to mama on the screen here. Now, this is not the font that I want to use. I want an applique. So I'm going to come back over here where I can select my embroidery files, and I'm going to select the applique font that I want to use. For this case, it's going to be the Rivermill embroidery font, and it is the, what is it called? It's called Walter Diamond, and I'm going to use the 3.5. No, I'm going to switch, and I'm going to use the 4.5, but I'm going to have to scale it down a little bit because I am using a frame that is 7 by 12 instead of 8 by 12. So I'm going to put it right there in the center. And now I have my letters for mama. I have to right click and then go down and hit convert to stitches. Okay. And that changes it over here to where you could click on this plus button and it opens up all the lettering. And then the first letter, or the first, I don't know what you call that, because each letter has 3 pieces to it. So the first piece, the placement stitch, oh my goodness, that is the one I want to use as the silhouette cut file. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the M, the placement stitch for M, and I'm not going to left click on it. I'm going to highlight it, and then I'm going to come over here to where the color is, and I'm going to select that color, and this box opens up. So initially this is just the thread color, but right here there is a little tab that says applique. So I'm going to click on applique, and initially it says not applique. So we're going to change this to applique position and then simulate it, and it automatically pulls it in at 1.8. I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger at 2.0. And that's just so that I could be sure that there's going to be enough fabric to have the stitches tack it down. Okay. And then I want to save. Now it gives me the option of how I want to save it. And I want to save it as a Silhouette Studio file. And that lettering, I'm going to just change that name to M for mama. No, I already saved this once. I'm going to do this different. M for mama. I'll do it like that. So I'm going to click save, and I can close that out. And I'm going to go through for the positioning for each letter. Okay. So we only have 2 letters here. So I'm going to go back and do the A, that position, and I'm going to select the color block and then go to applique, make it applique position, hit simulate it, and I'm going to move it up to where it is offset at 2.0, or inflated, I should say. And then I want to click save. And this is going to be A for mama. And that is going to be a silhouette studio file as well. So I'm going to click save, and then I can close that out. So now I'm going to go to Silhouette Studio, which is on the same computer, and I'm going to go to my file button. I'm not sure if you can see file up here, but there's a file button somewhere. And I want to click merge, and I'm going to go to my desktop. I have all kinds of junk on here. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to do the the A for mama. And then I want to also merge that one. So I'm going to separate them. It doesn't matter which order you, let me go back. It doesn't matter which order you cut them in. Just make sure you cut it on the fabric. But I want to select all pieces of that A. I want to right click and group them so that if I move it around on the board, it doesn't separate that little piece there, okay? And then I'm going to duplicate this. Duplicate. And I'll just put that down there. And so now I have all of my pieces that I need. And I'm going to send this to my silhouette machine so that it will cut it. And I'm not going to reverse it or mirror it. I'm going to cut it as is. And in my silhouette cuttings, keep in mind, settings, I should say, keep in mind that everybody's machine is going to cut a little bit differently. My machine, when I hit send, this is what I do. And I'm going to have to take this off of the holder for a second so I can show you. But let's see here. First, I make sure I highlight all of it. And I'm going to click, well, it should say no cut. I don't want no cut or no sketch up there because I'm not using my first blade. I'm going to use my second blade, which I have my setting at thick fabric canvas, and I need to change it to cut. The blade is in there, and it's a manual blade or a ratchet blade that's set the way I found that it actually will cut fabric. And then I want to select cut to make sure that it will cut it. And then you'll see it turned this to be blue. So I will prep my fabric and I will send it to the machine and it will cut it. And I'm going to be using, and I am going to fuse the Pellon 805 Wonder Under. Is this by Pellon? I keep saying this is Pellon. This might not even be by Pellon. It is. Oh my goodness, I had to make sure. But this is what I'm going to be fusing to the back side of this. And this will do two things for me in this project. Number one, it'll make sure that once I actually have the fabric on the sweatshirt, it's not going to fray when it starts getting washed and warm, because I'm going to iron it in place after everything is stitched down, or after everything is in place. You'll see. I'll iron it down. And then the other thing that this is going to help me with is the mat. Once I iron the fabric, once I iron the Pellon onto the actual fabric, the back side of the fabric will have it on it, and then I'll place it directly on here. I'll take that paper off and place the fabric directly on here so that the Pellon sticks to the mat so that it grips against each other, and then it keeps it from shifting. Okay, so the letters did cut out very nice, and I did kind of like shift them around on the screen before I actually really cut everything, because in my mind I needed to actually say mama. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside and get the shirt ready, and you'll see it does have the Pelon 805 on the back, or maybe you can't see that. It's not as shiny as like the other stuff. What is it called? Heat and bond and stuff. It's not as shiny as that, but I don't need heat and bond because this is going to be stitched down, but I do need something that's going to keep the material from fraying, that will hold it in place flatly. So I'm going to set these aside and get going with the next step. Now for the actual design that I'm going to be putting on this sweatshirt, I did add some additional wording. I didn't want it to just say mama. So fueled by coffee since 2012, and that date can be changed. It doesn't matter. Now I'm going to save it and I'm going to take it to my machine so it will be ready when it's time to stitch that out. The fueled by coffee since 2012, I did mean to say it is the typewriter font by Designs by Juju. And then of course, this is the applique is from Rivermill Embroidery, and it is the, what did I say? It was Walter Diamond applique. So I'll put that in here somewhere in the video where you can actually read it. Alrighty, so I have turned the sweatshirt inside out, and I already cut out my fusible poly mesh, the sheer stitch from All Stitch. And so I'm going to place this to the back of the sweatshirt and figure out about where I want it. And I'm just going to place it right here below the neckline. Yeah, I'm going to put it a little bit above it. So I'm just going to dry iron it to get it in place. I hope that's a dry. Yeah, that was dry. And so once I have it ironed in place, then I'm going to go through and I'm going to hoop it in hopes that this gives me a nice secure hooping. And this will just be the way I'll need to hoop these from now on with this machine. And I probably ought to hoop it like this with both of my machines, just for the sake of consistency and not going back and forth between two different techniques. So that's there. That's overkill on the ironing. I'm not worried about the edges because with this hoop, it's not going to have all of that. So it's going to be like this, but inside out. Okay. So I'm going to turn it. And then I need to do my center mark. And this sweatshirt here, this is just a sweatshirt that I got from Walmart. Let's see here. I'm gonna fold it so I can get my center lines. And then I'm gonna iron it so that I'll have that visual of where my center line rolls. And this is a point I probably could have used steam, but I'm just going to dry iron it really quickly so I could unplug this iron because it is hot in here. Alrighty. So I have my center line, and I'm going to get my bottom hoop, the bottom ring of my hoop, and I want to hoop it so that it's just about like that underneath it. Okay. And my stabilizer is already there, so that should not be a problem. And those little blue marks, those are just my lines, so I can kind of visualize where the center lines are. Okay. Making sure nothing's folded up. Yeah, that was folded up under there. Okay. And let me unscrew this to loosen the hoop up. I always forget to do that. Someone had did a video, and I honestly cannot remember the lady's name, but it made so much sense. She was saying that a lot of the hoop burn comes from your hoop being too tight. So this is a situation where a nice magnetic hoop would come in handy. The thing is, I have not, and maybe I'm overlooking it, but I haven't found anyone that has a magnetic hoop that is 12 by 8 that will fit the Tajima Sai without it bumping. So I don't know. I guess I'll just have to use this one that came with the machine as my hoop for these sweatshirts, unless somebody's working on something new. So I have it hooped up, and I am gonna unhoop it and move this hoop up a little bit higher because I really do have this a little too low, because the way this is gonna stitch, it will be, the top of it will be a little bit lower than I want it to be. So I need to move this up. Sorry about that, y'all. So I'll just pause the video, move it up, and I'll get back to you when I get to the machine. Okay, so I have this shirt hooped, and I have the design pulled up. I do want to change the colors because I don't want this to be number 4. Number 4 is that brown, and number 1 is the black, which is what I want. So I am going to go through here, and I'm going to, wrong thing. Okay, so I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to hit the 1 to change it to 1. I want all of them to be in black. And then I want to add some stops. So I'm going to select the 1, and then I'm going to hit the stop, and that puts a stop in right here. Then I'm going to select the 2, and I'm going to hit the stop, and that'll put the stop here. And in all honesty, I think that the stops are already in there, but I can't tell for sure yet. I'm still getting to know Embrilliance and how the things are set up in there. But I just put my stops in there just in case, to make sure that it does actually stop when I need to put the applique fabric on and trim it. So now I am going to go hit set. It is on tubular 1. Hit set again. I am measuring from the center, so I'm gonna hit set again, and let's see if it'll trace and be where we need it to be. Okay, I think that that will work, and we'll hit start. Okay, so it came to the first stop, and I'm going to click reset. I'm going to push that down so that it'll cut the threads. And now I'll take it off of the hoop so that I can see and line up the applique letters. Alrighty, so I had to plug that hot iron back in, and I've got my applique pieces. Now I did do an offset or inflation. I keep calling it an offset. It's an offset in silhouette, and I'm still learning Embrilliance. It's called inflate because you're actually inflating. But anyways, I think I did it a little bit too big because I did it, it automatically is at 1.8. And so I think I did it at 2.0. So maybe I should have just tried leaving it at 1.8 because it does appear to be a little bit bigger than what I need. So what I am actually going to do, I'm going to hit pause, and I'm not going to record this part, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to recut these with a offset of, yeah, the, just the 1.8 to see if that just fits perfectly over, because it should stay in place just by the way of the design is for the stitching. It comes inside. So I'm going to recut that and I'll be back. Alrighty, so I am back, and I promise y'all, I recut these, or attempted to recut these letters 3 times and could not figure out why it wasn't cutting right. Now, these are the first set of letters that I felt like were a little too big. And so I went to recut them, and I mean, seriously, I tried these 3 times and it just wasn't cutting clean. So I forgot one important step in this, making the fabric stiff before you actually put the 805 on the back of it. So some people will use Terial magic. When I was looking for some, I couldn't find any locally, and I didn't want to wait for Amazon. So I got some good old-fashioned Sta-Flo starch, and that is what I've used for this. And then I go through all of that just to reduce it back down to 1.8, whereas these were 2.0. I can't tell a difference. So I really can't tell a big difference in the sizing. So I don't know. We're going to roll with these. So I'm going to place these where they need to go, and just trying to make sure that they are lined up. And ideally, I should probably just iron these down 1 letter at a time. Yeah, I think 1 letter at a time. And I actually think I'm going to change the thread stitching to red instead of black. I think that's what I'm going to do. So if you stuck with me through the whole video, you'll realize this. Otherwise, somebody's going to be like, this is not the same shirt. But yeah, I'm not the same setup, I should say. But I think I'm going to change the stitching to red. I think that'll look better. So anyways, let me go ahead and iron these in place and get moving to the next step. And really, I'm just making sure everything is lined up. And they're there. It's there. So I'll do that with the rest of the letters, and I'll meet you back at the machine. Okay, so I did have to go all the way back to the beginning of the design to actually change the thread colors. I wasn't thinking about that, but I did go back and I changed them to red, and I advanced it to stitch number 2, which I really don't need, but we're going to run through it anyhow, because stitch number 2 is that tack down stitch so that you could go back and trim your applique. So I'm glad that I did go ahead and run that next step, because I do see where I didn't have the applique quite in place. and I can point that out to you. However, because I've already ironed it down, there's nothing that I can do about this one. So note to self, don't iron it down until you know that it's tacked down in the right position, because if I hadn't have ironed it down already, I could have went through and trimmed some of this excess fabric off of the sides. And it looks like it's mainly on the A's, but there's a little extra on the M's as well. So we're going to go ahead with the next step and stitch it on out. Alrighty, so this is complete, and it's not too bad. I actually kind of like it. I did, however, go through and I scaled down the inflation and Embrilliance, and I recut some more letters. So I am going to stitch this onto a black t-shirt, and it's going to be the same exact design, but I want to see if this offset just a little bit smaller, if it makes enough of a difference so that I can get it lined up perfectly with this. And I'm also not going to iron it down before it's actually tacked down in place, just in case I need to trim it up a little bit. So I'm not going to record that part. It's pretty much the same thing. I'm going to do the t-shirt the exact same way that I'm doing the sweatshirt, and I will show you the end results at the end of this video. Alrighty, so this is the t-shirt that I stitched out using the same design, but I just used different fabric and thread. So I did change the inflation to 1.6 where it was previously at 1.8. It honestly did not make a really big difference. So I think I'm just gonna play with it a little bit more, but then I also need to keep in mind the fact that this is a handmade on machine or homemade item. They're not going to be alike. No two are going to be stitched alike, and they're not going to be perfect. So I do like this, and the more I look at it, I like this one as well. So tell me what you all think of them since there are two now, and let me know if it's something that you've tried. I will put the shops that I bought the fonts from in the video so that you can see exactly where I got them from. And once again, this applique is from River Mill Embroidery, and the font down here is from Designs by Juju. So I thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next one.